Doing things faster or cheaper is often mistaken for doing them better. But all this obsession with efficiency is actually holding you back. So in this video, I'm going to show you the critical distinction between efficiency and effectiveness. You'll learn why you should base your decisions on effectiveness, not efficiency, and how to strike the right balance. We'll look at how this plays out across leadership and strategy, and I'll share real business examples and practical approaches you can apply in your own organization. We live in a business culture obsessed with optimization, streamlining processes, cutting costs, and maximizing output. The quest for efficiency has become almost religious in many organizations, and I get it. Wasting resources is bad. But somewhere along the way, many of us have lost sight of a fundamental truth. Efficiency is merely a means to an end, not the end itself. Efficiency is when you use minimal resources to produce maximum results. It's all about speed, cost reduction, and process optimization. Efficiency is about doing things right, but effectiveness is about doing the right things. To be effective means that you are focused on intended outcomes to create actual value, regardless of how streamlined the process might be, which is a huge difference. You can be extraordinarily efficient, but at solving the wrong problem. What makes efficiency so seductive is that it's easier to measure. You can quantify time saved, or any cost you've reduced, or an increase in output. Effectiveness is messier. It requires judgment and context, and often can be reduced to simple metrics. Executives and managers who prioritize efficiency focus a lot on processes and controls and measurable outputs. They do well at tightening operations and delivering predictable results. Their dashboards look impressive. But those who focus on being effective might appear less structured. They prioritize empowering their teams, adapting to changing circumstances, and dealing with ambiguity. They're obsessed with outcomes. However, they recognize that for the business to be successful, they also need to measure the outputs as well, and implement those controls, and tighten operations, but not at the expense of figuring out what actually gets the right results. In fact, at a strategic level, this distinction becomes even more pronounced. Effective strategy often appears inefficient. It involves experimentation, contingency planning, and maintaining a flexible capacity. These are all technically wasteful. They create redundancies and consume resources without immediate payoff. But when companies chase efficiency to the extreme by eliminating all the slack and running lean to the point of failure, they find themselves unable to handle unexpected disruptions. And unfortunately, many organizations learn this lesson the hard way. We saw this play out dramatically during the pandemic. Organizations that had optimized everything to run with minimal inventory and strict just-in-time delivery found themselves in trouble because of the supply chain crisis. Meanwhile, companies that maintained inefficient buffers and diversified their supply networks were much more resilient. Now, to be clear, I'm not advocating for wasteful practices or bloated organizations. Lean thinking offers tremendous value. But if taken too far, we end up creating systems that become too rigid to adapt, and in the long term, this will discourage innovation and make us afraid to take any type of risk. And to thrive long term, you must be able to adapt. You need the space to experiment and learn and sometimes fail, which intrinsically requires some degree of inefficiency. Effectiveness connects directly with purpose and actual customer value. Think about a sales team hitting their targets by pushing products customers don't actually need, or a customer service department that reduces call times and handles more inquiries per hour but fails to actually resolve any problems. Relying purely on quantitative metrics and KPIs can push a hollow performance that looks good on spreadsheets but doesn't hold up in the long run. Consider how luxury brands and high-end professional firms choose to deliver personal attention over a standardized approach, because they understand that this inefficient model is ultimately more effective at building loyalty and lasting customer relationships. So which of the two should we prioritize? Well, first of all, that's a bad way of looking at it. It implies that they are either or, with both having their pros and cons. Efficiency should always be in the service of effectiveness, not an end in itself. So instead of asking how we can do something faster or cheaper, we should instead ask whether we're solving the right problem and whether we're doing what truly matters. Once you're confident you're focused on the right priorities, then by all means make it efficient. But never let the pursuit of efficiency dictate your strategic choices. In practice, this means starting with clarity about your desired outcomes and the value you want to create. You need to question any early efficiency initiatives that might compromise those outcomes, and be willing to accept less optimized solutions in favor of adaptability and relationship building. And develop metrics that capture the achievement of your objectives, not arbitrary measurements that just look good. Effectiveness should guide your priorities, while efficiency helps you execute them. And in a world so concerned with how things are done, the organizations that truly succeed will be those that question whether they're doing the right thing in the first place. If you want more actionable advice for balancing personal growth with business success, click on the playlist link in the description below and consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.